Something strange is happening with the weather models right now. And if you've been paying attention to the forecasts over the past few weeks, you've probably felt it too. Every time the long-range guidance tries to build a warm ridge across the eastern United States, reality slaps it back down. The models keep advertising this big warming trend out east, and it keeps falling apart. Run after run, they project it. And run after run, it never shows up. Now, that pattern of failure is starting to have real consequences as we push deeper into February, because what replaces that phantom ridge could reshape the next several weeks of weather across the entire country. Today is Friday, February 6, 2026. And what I'm about to break down for you is one of the most important pattern shifts we've seen this winter season. Let's start with what's actually happening right now, because the immediate forecast is dramatic enough on its own. If you pull up the alerts map across the United States this evening, you'll notice something that's been a recurring theme all winter long. Everything east of the Rockies is lit up with warnings and advisories, while the western half of the country sits there looking almost suspiciously quiet. That ridge out west has been a stubborn beast all season, keeping the Pacific states warm and dry, while the east has taken hit after hit. And tonight is no exception. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. Cold weather alerts are plastered across the Northeast yet again. Extreme cold watches stretch across much of New England and parts of the Mid-Atlantic. Cold air advisories blanket the Ohio Valley. Winter weather advisories are posted from the Great Lakes through Ohio into West Virginia and down into the mountains of North Carolina. And where those advisories upgrade to winter storm warnings, that's where the heavier snow is headed. A clipper system has been driving through the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley today, and it's dragging a nasty Arctic front right behind it. Here's how this plays out, city by city through the weekend. Chicago saw snow showers push through earlier today, and conditions are tapering off. But the real story there is the wind and cold arriving overnight. Detroit and Cleveland are in the thick of it right now, with snow still falling and accumulations of 2 to 4 expected before everything wraps up. Pittsburgh is looking at a solid 2 to 4 as well, with the heaviest bursts coming this evening. Buffalo, as always, is in the crosshairs for lake-enhanced snow and could easily pick up 4 to 6 inches through Saturday morning. Columbus and Indianapolis are on the southern edge of the heaviest snow band, but we'll still see a couple of inches with reduced visibility tonight. Further south, the Appalachian are where the snowfall totals really ramp up. The mountains of West Virginia could see 6 to 10 in the highest elevations, and the North Carolina mountains are looking at 4 to 6 in. This has been the third snow and ice event to hit the Carolina mountains in the past couple of weeks, which is remarkable. Snow on top of snow on top of snow in North Carolina is just not something that happens regularly anymore. Now, the snow is only part of this story. As that clipper pushes offshore, it's going to interact with the Atlantic and start to rapidly strengthen. By Saturday morning, a powerful coastal low will be bombing out east of the mid-Atlantic coast. The isobars around this system will be incredibly tight, and that means wind, serious wind, the kind that can cause damage. For New York City, expect wind gusts of 40 to 50 km/h on Saturday, with wind chills hovering around 0. Boston is looking at similar gusts, with wind chills plunging to 10 to 15 below by Saturday night. Philadelphia gets hammered with gusts potentially exceeding 50 mph. Washington, D.C. and Baltimore will see gusts in the 35 to 45 range. The Delmarva Peninsula could see the strongest gusts of all, approaching 60 mph, as that coastal low deepens offshore. The Virginia and North Carolina foothills will see gusts of 44 to 55 mph across the Piedmont and eastern Appalachian slopes. If you have anything loose outside, bring it in tonight. Then comes the cold, and this is where things get really dangerous. Saturday night into Sunday morning will be the peak of the Arctic intrusion across the Northeast. Temperatures will drop below zero in northern Maine and could dip into the single digits across much of interior New England. New York City should stay just above zero for the actual temperature, but wind chills will make it feel like 10 to 15 below. Boston will feel like 15 to 20 below. Burlington, Vermont, and Portland, Maine are looking at wind chills of 25 to 35 below zero. Upstate New York and the Adirondacks could see wind chills approaching 40 below. That's frostbite territory in under 15 minutes. Even the southeast won't escape the chill entirely. Atlanta will see morning lows in the mid-20s Saturday and Sunday. Charlotte drops into the teens Saturday night. Raleigh sits in the upper teens to low 20s for lows. Nashville and Memphis will hover in the 20s before the moderation begins early next week. Now here's where this gets fascinating. While the east freezes, the Central Plains are about to experience something completely opposite. By Monday, Omaha, Des Moines, Kansas City, and Sioux Falls could see temperatures 30 to 40 degrees above normal. Mid-60s in Nebraska and Iowa in early February. Minneapolis could push into the 50s. St. Louis might touch 60. It perfectly illustrates how distorted this pattern has become. But here's the critical question, and it's the one that matters most for the next few weeks. What happens after this? And this is where the model failures I mentioned at the top become really important. For weeks now, the guidance has been trying to establish a big ridge in the east and a deep trough in the west as we head into the second half of February. That would mean warmth flooding the eastern two-thirds of the country and winter finally showing up out west. And every single time the models push that solution, reality pushes back. The verification has been terrible. That eastern ridge never arrives. Why does this keep happening? The answer lies in what's going on in the Arctic. Persistent blocking over northern Canada and Greenland has been a defining feature of this winter, and the models chronically underestimate it. They erode the block too quickly in the extended range, which opens the door for that warm ridge to build in the east. But the block keeps hanging on, suppressing the storm track and funneling cold air southward into eastern North America. Look at what happened in just the last 24 hours. The European model centered on Friday the 13th flipped dramatically. Previous runs showed temperatures 15 degrees above normal across the east. The latest run shows 15 degrees below normal. That's a 30-degree swing in one cycle. The GFS did essentially the same thing. Run after run showed warmth. Then suddenly the latest run caught the blocking and crash temperatures. The European ensembles confirmed the signal. And interestingly, the European AI ensemble picked up on this cold faster than the traditional models. Now, let me tell you what this means for cities across the country. As we look at the period from February 12th through the 20th, for the Northeast, this blocking pattern suggests that the cold is not going away anytime soon. New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. should expect temperatures running 5 to 15 degrees below normal through much of mid-February with periodic reinforcing shots of cold air. The storm track will favor the northern tier, meaning cities like Portland, Maine, Burlington, Boston, Albany, Syracuse, and Buffalo have the best chances for significant snowfall events. For the southeast, this pattern doesn't scream major winter storms, but it does keep temperatures on the cool side. Atlanta, Charlotte, Raleigh, and Nashville will run near to slightly below normal. Any storm systems that develop will likely track too far north for significant winter weather in the deep south. But the Gulf Coast from Houston through New Orleans, Mobile, Birmingham, and Jacksonville stays in the rain zone with periodic rounds of showers. The central United States is the wild card. That massive warmth early next week will moderate, but cities like Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, and Milwaukee sit right in the battleground between the mild air to the south and the cold air reinforcing from Canada. This zone will see the most dramatic temperature swings, and any storm systems moving through could produce a mix of rain, snow, and ice, depending on timing. Out west, things are finally about to change. Denver, Salt Lake City, Boise, Seattle, and Portland are looking at a pattern shift as the ridge breaks down and Pacific energy pours in. The Cascades, Sierras, and Northern Rockies should see significant snowfall next week. San Francisco and Los Angeles could see rounds of rain as moisture drops south into California, now about Valentine's Day weekend. Earlier model runs advertised a significant storm for the East Coast around the 13th to 14th. The latest guidance has backed off, but I wouldn't write it off. The ensemble spaghetti charts tell the story. For this weekend's storm, ensemble members are tightly clustered with strong agreement. For Valentine's Day, lines are scattered everywhere with no consensus on strength or placement. But with blocking parked over Canada and energy streaming on the subtropical jet, I suspect we'll end up tracking something around that time frame. Looking into late February and early March, the stratospheric picture adds complexity. The polar vortex is stretched and nearly split with lows drifting toward Europe and Asia. A stretched vortex generally favors cold air outbreaks at the surface because it prevents the Arctic from bottling everything up. However, the orientation means the coldest air could favor Europe and Asia at times. It's a coin flip we'll have to monitor closely. My instinct is that we stay cooler than normal across the eastern United States through at least the first half of March. The models want to warm us up, but they've been wrong about that repeatedly. The blocking has been relentless, and until I see convincing evidence it's collapsing, I'm trusting the pattern over the models. That means continued chances for winter weather across the northern tier and periodic cold shots for the rest of the east. For the west, the transition to an active pattern should continue, and the Cascades, Sierras, and Rockies will finally start receiving the snowfall they desperately need. That's the full picture heading into this critical stretch. An active weekend with snow, dangerous wind, and bitter cold in the east, record warmth in the plains, a pattern shift bringing life back to the west, and a long-range outlook far colder than the models have been selling. Stay safe this weekend, and I'll be right here breaking it all down. See you in the next one.